Welcome everybody to Any Resources 7th video on how to build a browser-based MMO version 2.0. I'm sure you guys are getting tired of hearing that, but anyway, one thing I want to do, so this is kind of the second part to the map, how to build the map, and I want to go into more detail about how I did it so I don't leave you guys behind or anything. One thing I do want to do is I'm kind of sick of this background. I mainly put it there just so you guys can understand how it works, but right now it's kind of disturbing me because we don't have anything else there, so I just want to go in and I'm just going to go in and delete it real quick. All I'm going to do is go into this container fluid and delete that, and then I'm going to delete everything that's in the body. You don't have to do this. Feel free to do whatever you want. I'm just doing it just so I just get this. This is all I want. I just want to be able to see this stuff so it looks a little better. My main reason for that background was just to get something up going and fast. It was really cool and show you guys how to do it. But now I'm ready to get back to just static. Let's work on this. Anyway, so we talked about the map system and how we're moving around, and you got to remember all this stuff is being done in the database, being pulled from the database. There's no refreshing going on. It's all being done by Ajax, which is far better because then you'll have all the refreshing and everything else. You're just on one page. So let's get back to talking about how we did it. So as far as let's take things a little slower in this video. The one thing I did have to do, and trust me, I'm not going to continue to do this, but we did have to add the terrain builder, and I did down here have to add the player.js down here, because the reason why is because since we don't have any players, since we don't have any login system or anything, everything is kind of static. We're just kind of setting a default variable, and then that changes, and that has to be set before this is called. We're going to change all that because we're eventually going to have logins and everything. And one thing we're going to do also is have one line that just loads the whole engine, but because we're still building the engine, I'm just loading things one at a time. But we will fix that in upcoming videos, so don't worry about that. If you notice, I did remove that side thing that was here. The main reason why is because when I started looking at, for those of you that are on a big screen like this, or as far as like it's low resolution, this was pushed over into here. So to make room, I removed that one. This one's still here, and now that I think about it, we'll probably end up using this screen real estate anyway, so I went ahead and it looks okay the way it is. Let's refresh so I have the white here. And it just fits a little better. So guys, don't worry if you get frustrated on trying to set things up yourself with these rows and columns. We're going to work on that a little bit later. Like I said, it's more fun to kind of get the heavy stuff out of the way, the true design or true back-end coding stuff. So we'll get to work on that pretty soon. Anyway, let's get through this video. So mainly what I did is I took away that one column that was here and just made this a 5 instead of a 4. Now if you notice, we have our map here, but then this is the row, the whole row. We have our 5 here, which is the map. And then we have this 2 column, and inside there I have another row. You can nest rows and columns inside of each other, which is really cool. So what I did is I actually nested so this is all one row, right? Inside this 2 that's here, which what we're going to do to fix this is we're going to make small and large. We're going to make this shrink over here like it's supposed to. But anyway, inside this column, I now have 3 more rows, and then I have columns built, almost like a table, basically, except for this is much more responsive than a table, and I just put the images inside there. So whenever you look at the actual HTML side of it, you will notice, let's just scroll to it, you notice that it is nested, and what I've did is just kind of nested these. So I have 3 rows, here are my columns. Basically I've created a new class called arrow. If we go into our style sheet and we look at our arrow, all it is saying minimum width 50. It's just making sure that all of them are 50 so they all line up right. Not a big deal. Wouldn't worry about it too much. Another thing I did while we're talking about is I did change this minimum width to 630 to fit a little better on the map, but not a big deal. You'll notice it. So minimum width 50. If we go back to our index, so that's all it is. It's 3 rows. Here's our 3 rows that is creating our basic compass that we use for the map to move. I know there was thoughts on, click on the place where you want to go. That's fine, we can do that, but the way I built the map with the 25 grid and all that stuff in the way, I figured it'd just be neater to do it this way. We could technically do diagonal too. If that's something we want to do, I'm fine with that. Just let me know. Diagonal would be cool, and maybe we'll throw in some cool diagonal stuff and make it move that way. I didn't do it just because it's for now, there's a lot in this. There's a lot in these videos that I did. So anyway, so all I did is, you notice there's the 3 columns in here. So we've got our 3 rows, 3 columns, just a 9x9 grid, and basically put the media in here, the icons west. So if you go into MMO tutorial media, we go to our icons, there's the icons, that's all it is. And then if you notice, I have this on click in here, so if you actually click on them, where's my on click? It's travel. So what I did was, here's where I added the player.js. I created a new script, player.js, and the first function we have in there is travel, and it sends the direction. So think of it this way, let's go back here. This is 1, 2, 3, 4. That's how I count it. So whenever we're sending it, we are sending 1, 2, 3, 4. Or technically it's 2, 3, 4. But anyway, that's how it's sending the directions. And in the player, it's capturing that as direction, and then it's doing a switch case. For those of you who don't know what a switch is, it basically looks at whatever variable you put in there, and it says case. So if case equals 1, so in other words, if this equals 1, which means we're going north, we're going to minus 1 from the player's row, because remember we got rows. So let's do it this way. So if you're standing here and you go north, which is 1, this is row 5, let's pretend. Well, actually we're at 10, so this would be 9, so we want to move him to 9. So when we go up, he moves to 9. And same way, if we go this direction, then we're actually going to take away from the column. So we have, let's say, 9, 10, so now we've moved to 9, now we're at 8, which I don't know if that's where it's really at, but anyway, that's how it is. And eventually we will put the person's location, that way they can make notations if they find a town. The one thing I do want to mention, this map system is not done by any means. We are going to add to where a player can actually build a house here, and it actually puts the house on here. That's the point behind this 9 grid system, is because if you build a house, there's a house. You build 2 houses there, it's going to turn into 2 houses. You start building 5 and 6, it's going to turn into a city, and so forth, to where the players actually control this place. The players are actually building these towns, and when you walk across them, you're actually seeing how big these towns are and stuff. So it kind of adds a better element to it. So anyway, that's how the grid system works. That's all it's doing inside here, is it's just minusing or adding, because if you're at 10 and you move, if you go this direction, it's now adding 1, and so forth. Or going down here, it's adding 1. So that's all it is. Real simplistic system. And then what we have to do next is we have to call getMap, which, if you remember, is the function that we called down here when we first started. And all getMap is doing is it is going back in the database. It's passing the current map R and map C of the player and the zone, so it's the new one, and then it's rebuilding the map. So that's basically how we're building it. It's going so fast that you're just not noticing it, but it's actually, every time you move, it adds 1 to which one it needs. So if we do diagonal, it'll -1 add 1, or add 1 -1, either way, or maybe plus plus or minus minus. Anyway, it calls to the database, grabs the new map information, comes back, builds the map right in front of you without refreshing, because it's doing JavaScript is manipulating everything. So a really neat way to do it. I don't think that there's anything in here that's really so complicated that I probably confused you guys on. Those of you that are new to JavaScript, new to PHP, normally I don't go this fast, but I think that one thing I've learned is that most people either figure it out, or it's more of a, I think everybody's watching these videos have a little bit of understanding, and I haven't really done anything too complicated yet. So if I'm going too fast or you missed anything, feel free to come to the forums and let me know. I don't want to go too slow and bore people, but I also don't want to go too fast and lose people. So anyway, more of my rambling on. Let's continue. So that's basically just about everything I've done so far. It was a lot of stuff, but it was really, I mean, simplistic in a way. It's a pretty easy system, but obviously it works pretty smooth. Pretty happy with it. So the next things we need to work on is, of course, getting this lined up, which we're going to do. We need to start presenting the map stats and giving the ability to lumber, harvest, or hunt, or whatever it is. So we need to have some way. And what I'm thinking is instead of giving the number, so let's say lumber here is, and what we can do is we can go here. So say instead of showing lumber 56, I want to have a poor fair, good, great, excellent system to where 56 is going to be probably around a fair. So it'll just say fair. So it'll say lumber, fair. And so that way they don't know when they go to lumber, because the lower this number is, the harder it is to lumber. You need a better skill. The higher, the better. These will change every day. So as players lumber in, let's say this area, location, the more they lumber, the more this goes down to where they pretty much lumber it out. Every day that grows a little bit. So if people aren't lumbering a whole bunch, it's going to grow a whole bunch. One thing we are going to have to put in here that I've learned too, not to make it grow too much in the beginning because you don't have as many players as you need, but we'll cover all that stuff later. But at least we got the map system working out of the way. It looks pretty cool, working good so far. Next we just need to start adding in some stats and get this row cleaned up and make it start looking good. So on to the next video.